Welcome back to the Anti-Cancer Lab. If you're new here, pull up a chair. You're in good company. This is where I read the cancer studies most people never see and tell you, plainly, what they mean for your plate. No fear, no hype. So grab a coffee and let's look at this together. Although, today, just this once, I'd hold up a teacup instead. 5 morning teas, one small thing to do with each, and one honest catch at the end the wellness videos always keep. Stay with me, because I had the order of these backwards for years, and the methodology is what straightened me out. Quick note before we start, because this matters more on this channel than on any other. I'm Dr. Becker. I'm a researcher, not your doctor, and I have never had cancer or treated a single patient. Everything I'm about to tell you is me reading published studies and translating them for general education. None of it is medical advice. None of it replaces your oncologist or your treatment. And no cup of tea in the world is a cure. If you're in treatment right now, every single thing I say today goes alongside the people caring for you, never instead of them. Bring what's useful to your medical team and let them drive. Alright, teacup in hand, let's look at this together. I'll be honest, for years I had this backwards. When somebody asked me about tea and cancer, I'd reach straight for the prettiest, trendiest answer and skip right past the one with the actual evidence behind it. I treated all 5 of these like they were roughly equal, like a tea was a tea was a tea, and you just pick the one you like the taste of. And then I sat down and actually read the methodology, study by study, and it changed how I talk about the whole subject. They are not equal. One of these has real, early human footprint behind it. A couple have promising laboratory chemistry and not much more. And one of them, the one I'll close with, has almost nothing behind it for cancer at all. And I'm going to tell you that to your face and still recommend you drink it. So let me give you these in the order the evidence actually earns, not the order Instagram likes. Before any study, here's my honest opinion, the thing I'd say to my own family over the kitchen table. If you're going to add one of these to your mornings, make it the first one, green tea, and treat the other 4 as pleasant company, not as the main event. I'll show you why as we go, but I want you holding that opinion the whole time, because it's the practical heart of this whole list. Let me start with green tea, because it's the strongest, and it's the one I'd actually put in my own cup first. The compound everyone studies in green tea has a long, ugly name, EGCG, which stands for epigallocatechin gallate. Forget the spelling, just hold this. EGCG is the main active compound in green tea, the workhorse, the molecule most of the lab research is built around, and is the most heavily studied tea compound in all of cancer biology, by a wide margin. So what does it actually do in the studies? 2 things worth your time. In petri dish work, on cells in a laboratory, EGCG nudges cancer cells towards something called apoptosis, which is just the scientific word for a cell's built-in self-destruct switch. Healthy cells have this switch. They know when to die and step aside. Cancer cells, broadly, are cells that have forgotten how to die, that ignore the off switch and just keep dividing. In the dish, EGCG pushes those cells back toward pressing that self-destruct switch. The second thing is even more interesting to me. EGCG interferes with something called angiogenesis, which is the process where a tumor grows its own brand new blood vessels to feed itself. A tumor can't grow past the size of a pinhead without building a supply line to bring it blood. In laboratory studies, EGCG gets in the way of that plumbing. Cut the supply line, you slow the growth, at least in the dish. Now, here's where green tea earns its spot at the top, because it doesn't stop at the dish. There's a small, early human signal too, and I don't say that lightly, because most of what you read about food and cancer never gets out of the petri dish. In men with a specific kind of high-grade precancerous change in the prostate, a condition the doctors call high-grade PIN, which is a step that sometimes, not always, goes on toward prostate cancer, researchers gave some of them concentrated green tea catechins and watched what happened over the following year compared to men who didn't get them. And in that small study, fewer of the men taking the green tea compounds went on to develop prostate cancer in that window. Now I have to slow you all the way down right here, because this is exactly the kind of finding that gets twisted into a headline. That was a small study. Small. Early, not the final word. It's the kind of result that earns a compounder research future, not a result that lets me say, green tea prevents prostate cancer. Wait, Let me say that more carefully, because the distinction is the whole ballgame on this channel. That study showed an association in a small group over 1 year. That further step, the one where you stand up and tell people that tea prevents the disease, has not been proven, and I won't pretend it has. But the finding tells you something most tea compounds can't claim: that the compound gets into a living human body and is associated with a real, measurable change in real people, not just cells in a dish. And I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, Becker, tea is just hot water and hype. Fair. That's a fair thing to be thinking, and I want to answer it honestly rather than talk you past it. I'm not telling you tea is a drug. I'm telling you the strongest one on this list, green tea, has real laboratory chemistry and one early human signal behind it. The downside is essentially zero, and it costs you pennies. That's not hype. That's a sensible, low-cost lever for a drink you might already enjoy, and you don't need a guarantee to justify a cheap, pleasant habit the evidence leans gently in favor of. So let me put green tea on the plate, because mechanism with no cup action is just trivia, and I don't do trivia here. The realistic version is this: you do not need a supplement, and honestly, I'd steer you away from the high-dose extract pills, because there have been rare liver issues reported with those concentrated supplements, and that's a conversation for your doctor, not a thing to buy off a shelf. The tea itself is the safe, cheap, sensible form. Loose green tea leaves cost pennies a cup, and one bag lasts a long time. Here's the one thing that actually matters for the brewing, and almost nobody tells you. Don't use boiling water. Boiling water scalds green tea and makes it bitter and harsh. Let your kettle come off the boil and sit a minute, so the water's hot but not roaring. Then steep the leaves 2, maybe 3 minutes. You'll get a clean, grassy, slightly vegetal cup with a little bite to it. And that grassy bite is the catechins. That's the chemistry you can taste. 2 or 3 cups across the day is the amount that shows up most in the research, and that's completely doable. And one quick mention, since folks always ask, matcha is just green tea leaves ground into a fine powder. So when you drink matcha, you're drinking the whole leaf instead of just what steeps out of it, which makes it more concentrated, more EGCG per cup. Just know it's also more caffeine per cup, which brings me to the one caution I'd give every one of you. Green tea has caffeine. Not as much as coffee, but it's there. And if you're sensitive, if it keeps you up or flatters your heart, keep it to the morning and early afternoon. And let the evening teas be the caffeine-free ones, which, lucky for us, the next several are. Now that's the strongest one. Here's the next, and it's gentler in the cup. Ginger tea. Ginger's a knobby root you've all got a piece of in the crisper drawer right now, probably going a little soft. The compounds in it are called gingerol, in the fresh root, and when you dry it or heat it, gingerol converts into another one called shogal, 6-shogal if you want to be precise. Both have been looked at in the lab for calming inflammation, and there's some petri dish data on colon cancer cells specifically, where ginger compounds nudge those cells in the direction we'd want, toward that self-destruct switch we talked about. So far so good. That's lab work, promising, early. But here I have to stop and be straight with you, because this is the most common place I see ginger oversold, and I won't do it. The real, solid, human evidence for ginger is not about cancer at all. It's about nausea. Ginger is genuinely, repeatedly, proven in people to help with nausea, including the nausea that comes with chemotherapy. And I need you to hear the line I'm about to draw. Helping with chemonausea is not the same thing as fighting cancer. Those are two completely different claims, and the videos that blur them together are doing you a disservice. Ginger is in a queasy stomach during treatment, that's real and wonderful. Ginger killing a tumor, that's a dish, not a person. And I'm not going to let the one borrow credibility from the other. And if you are in treatment and thinking about ginger for nausea, that is exactly the kind of thing you bring to your oncologist first, alongside your care, never instead of an anti-nausea medicine they've given you. Because ginger can interact with some medications and your team needs to know. So why is ginger on this list at all then? Because it's a warm, anti-inflammatory, comforting, caffeine-free cup with promising lab chemistry. And because chronic inflammation, the slow background kind, is one of the conditions that, over years, makes the soil friendlier for cancer to take hold. Calming that, gently, over a lifetime, is a sensible bet. Here's the cup. Cut 3 or 4 thin slices of fresh ginger, skin and all. Drop them in a mug, pour hot water over, and steep 5 to 10 minutes. The longer, the stronger. You'll get a sharp, warming, slightly spicy cup that wakes up your whole chest. A squeeze of lemon's lovely in it. No caffeine, so it's a fine evening tea. If fresh is a hassle, a plain ginger tea bag works. Just check the label that it's actually ginger and not mostly sugar and flavoring. Let me build on that with the third, because it's a cousin of one I've talked about before, and it's turmeric tea, what a lot of folks call golden tea or golden milk. Turmeric's that bright orange-yellow root, or the powder you've got in the spice rack, and its headline compound is called curcumin. And curcumin has a genuinely huge laboratory literature behind it, one of the most studied plant compounds there is. Looked at in the dish for pushing cancer cells toward apoptosis, that self-destruct switch, and for calming inflammation. On paper it looks tremendous. So why isn't it my number one? I'll tell you what I tell my own brother, and it's the honest catch with turmeric. Curcumin is terribly absorbed. You can drink a whole mug of golden tea, and your body will wave most of that curcumin straight through, without ever getting it into your bloodstream where it could do anything. It's one of the most frustrating compounds in nutrition science, for exactly that reason. The lab promise huge, and the absorption tiny. But, and this is the practical part, there are 2 cheap, free tricks that help a lot, and they're both well documented in human pharmacology. The first is black pepper. The compound in black pepper, piperine, slows down how fast your liver breaks curcumin apart, and adding a pinch of black pepper to turmeric has been shown in people to raise curcumin absorption by a very large margin. Let me back up and be precise here, because precise matters. That piperine raises curcumin absorption is solid human pharmacology. We've measured it in people. Whether that extra absorption then turns into less cancer in a person, that step is not proven, and I won't blur the two. But the absorption part is real, and it's free. The second is fat. Curcumin dissolves in fat, not water, so a little fat in the cup, a splash of whole milk or a coconut milk, carries far more of it into you than plain water ever will. So the realistic golden tea is this: half a teaspoon of turmeric, a small pinch of black pepper, simmered a few minutes in a cup of warm milk you like, and if you want it nicer, a little grated ginger and a tiny touch of honey. You get this warm, earthy, golden, faintly peppery cup. Caffeine-free, comforting, lovely before bed. Now let me be honest about where the evidence stands. The human cancer outcome trials for curcumin are early and mixed, some promising, some that came to nothing, and the absorption problem hangs over all of it. So I drink golden tea as a pleasant, anti-inflammatory ritual with serious lab chemistry behind it, and an honest question mark over how much reaches me, not as medicine, with the pepper and the fat to give it its best shot. Stay with me, because the next one surprised me, and it's the prettiest cup on the list, hibiscus tea. If you've never had it, it's that deep ruby red, almost cranberry-colored tea, made from the dried flower of the hibiscus plant, and it's wonderfully tart, sharp, and fruity, like a sour berry, gorgeous iced on a hot afternoon or hot in the morning. That deep red color is the whole point. The color is the chemistry. Those red-purple pigments are called anthocyanins, which are a type of polyphenol, and polyphenols are just the plant pigments and compounds doing the protective work, the antioxidants. Hibiscus is loaded with them, and in laboratory studies, those hibiscus polyphenols have shown anti-proliferative activity, which is a fancy way of saying they slowed down the multiplying of certain cancer cells in the dish. Promising lab work, again, cells not people, again, I'll keep saying it because it's the truth. Now I have to mention one thing, and then deliberately walk away from it, and I want you to notice me doing it. Most of the actual human evidence for hibiscus is about blood pressure, where there's decent human data that it can nudge blood pressure down a little. And that's all I'm going to say about that. One line, because this is not a hard channel, and I won't drift into a lane that isn't mine. I'm flagging it for honesty, so you know the strongest human evidence for hibiscus isn't a cancer finding, and then I'm leaving it alone. For our purposes, hibiscus is a tart, beautiful, caffeine-free, polyphenol-rich cup with promising laboratory chemistry on cancer cells and no human cancer proof. And that's a perfectly good reason to enjoy it without overselling it. The cup couldn't be easier. A tablespoon of dried hibiscus flowers or a hibiscus tea bag, hot water, steep 5 minutes and drink it hot, or make a big batch, chill it, and drink it iced and unsweetened over the day. It's so tart that the temptation to dump sugar in it is enormous. And hold that thought, because that temptation is exactly the catch I'm building toward. And here's the fifth one, the one I promise I'd be completely honest about. And it's rooibos. Red bush tea from South Africa, caffeine-free, a lovely amber red color, naturally sweet and nutty and smooth, no bitterness at all. It's got an antioxidant compound in it called aspalathin that you won't find in many other places. And I'll tell you what I'd actually say if you cornered me. Of these 5, rooibos has the least evidence behind it for anything to do with cancer, by a good distance. The lab work is thin, mostly antioxidant activity in a dish, and there's very little human cancer research to point to at all. So why on earth is it on a list about teas the research links to starving cancer cells? Because I'd rather be honest with you than tidy. Rooibos earns its place here not as strong evidence, but as the perfect caffeine-free evening cup. It's naturally sweet, so you're not tempted to add sugar to it. It's gentle, it won't keep you up, and a warm, soothing ritual in the evening that helps you wind down and sleep is not nothing for your long-term health. So I'm putting it in your hand as the honest closer, the one I drink at night precisely because it asks nothing of me and tastes good plain. If a video tells you rooibos fights cancer, that video is stretching way past the evidence. I won't. Steep a bag or a spoon of the loose leaf for 5 to 7 minutes. It's very forgiving. You can't oversteep it into bitterness the way you can green tea, and drink it plain in the evening. That's it. The honest one. So now let me give you the honest turn, the part the headlines leave out. And I sat with someone this past year who taught me how to say it. There's a woman, call her Edith, around 70, who came up to me after a talk. Every single day, for as long as she could remember, Edith starts with a pot of tea. It's her ritual, her quiet half hour before the house wakes up, the cup warming her hands, the steam on her face. And she'd read somewhere that green tea fights cancer, and she was so proud. She said, "Dr. Becker, I drink 3 cups a day, I'm doing everything right." And then, almost as an afterthought, she told me she takes it with 3 big spoons of honey, because the green tea is a little bitter for her. And I didn't have the heart to lecture her, because that ritual is precious, and I'd never take it from her. But I did, gently, tell her the thing I'm about to tell you, because it's the catch this whole genre skips. The benefit in every one of these teas, the green tea, the ginger, the turmeric, the hibiscus, lives in the polyphenols, in those plant compounds, the catechins and the anthocyanins and the rest. And people drown those compounds in sugar and honey. They take a cup that might gently help and turn it into dessert. Now I'm not going to be a fanatic about it. A little honey, a touch of sweetness, that's fine, that's life. And a tea you enjoy is a tea you'll actually keep drinking. But 3 big spoons in every cup, 3 times a day, every day, that's the part that quietly works against you. Because a lifetime of excess sugar is its own slow problem. So the practical catch is simple. Keep them unsweetened or lightly sweetened. Let the tart of the hibiscus and the natural sweetness of the rooibos do the work. Train your tongue, over a couple of weeks, to like the grassy bite of the green tea on its own. That adjustment is worth more than which exact tea you pick. And let me be straight with you, all the way. None of this is a cure. A cup of tea does not kill cancer in your body the way a headline says it does. Green tea is not going to undo a tumor. Hibiscus is not going to dissolve one. And that starving cancer cells, in the title of this very video, let me ground that honestly. That language comes from the laboratory, from petri dish and animal studies, where these compounds interfere with cancer cells and the blood supply that feeds them. Plus, for green tea specifically, one small early human signal. It is not a promise about what happens inside your body when you drink a mug of tea. Anyone who tells you a tea starves the cancer out of a living person is selling you something. Here's the honest version, the one I'd stake my name on. Green tea has real early human footprint and the strongest case. Ginger has solid human evidence, but for nausea, not cancer, and that line matters. Turmeric has huge lab promise hobbled by poor absorption. Hibiscus has pretty lab data and no human cancer proof. And rooibos is the pleasant, honest, weakest one that earns its place as your evening cup. What they all genuinely share is an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory profile, near zero cost, and near zero risk in the amounts I've described. That's the whole honest claim. It shifts the odds a little, maybe, over years, and costs you almost nothing to find out. I won't dress it up bigger than that, because the day I start overselling you is the day you should stop trusting me. So here's your one thing this week, and it's just one, and it's cheap. On your next shop, buy one bag of green tea, loose leaf or bags, your choice. A couple of dollars, lasts a long while. And tomorrow morning, instead of or alongside your usual cup, brew yourself a green tea. Water off the boil, not roaring, steep 2 or 3 minutes and drink it unsweetened, or with the smallest touch of honey if you must, and pay attention to that clean grassy taste. That's the whole assignment, just the green tea, just for this week, because it's the one with the real evidence and the habit most worth building. Later, add the others as the mood takes you. Ginger when your stomach's off, golden tea with the pepper and a splash of milk before bed, hibiscus iced in the afternoon, rooibos at night. But start with the green. That's the step I'd start with myself, and is the one I actually drink. Let me leave you with this, and I mean it calmly, not as a slogan. You hold one lever every single day, and now it's not just your plate, it's your cup too. That is not nothing. You can't control your genes, and I will never tell you a cup of tea puts you in charge of cancer, because it doesn't. But you can control what you steep tomorrow morning, and you can do the small, cheap, pleasant, defensible thing consistently for years. That's the whole game. Be the safe driver. Bring it to the people caring for you and let them do the rest. Your last decades can be good ones, and a warm, honest cup of tea, the steam on your face in the quiet of the morning, is a fine place to start that work. Keep it simple, keep it on your plate, and I'll see you right back here. Bring a friend who needs this, and tell me in the comments which one you're starting with this week, the green tea or one of the others. I read every single one of these.